Hello viewer, a warm welcome to Elimu TV where you watch and learn. This is our geography class, lesson 7, and we'll be talking about atmospheric pressure and humidity. I am your teacher, Madam Abigail Rachel, and I will continuously teach you geography on this channel. For the previous lesson that we had, it was still about the weather conditions, and in the last lesson, we were looking about wind. So we talked about wind, and in wind is moving air, a mass of moving air. Sometimes the wind blowing may be strong or maybe even mild. So wind is measured using a windsock or a wind vane. Below is a wind vane. On the next image on the right is a windsock. So most of these two instruments are most likely to be found in an airport where you have the windsock detecting the strength of wind, and the wind vane shows the direction which wind is flowing through and flowing from. So these are two instruments that they measure wind condition, and they are most likely to be found in a weather. They are most likely to be found in an airport. For today's lesson, I'm going to talk about atmospheric pressure. And pressure from physics, you also know pressure from just the knowledge that you have gathered so far. And pressure is when you have energy that is acting much on something. This when you take a balloon and you blow in air, you put a lot of pressure into this balloon so that this balloon may expand. You may say that this is pressure. And also atmospheric pressure, or pressure rather, helps us in body balance. For example, if you close one ear or if you didn't have both ears, you will not be able to have a balance as you stand up. So pressure is very good. And this is the amount of pressure exerted on the Earth's surface in terms of energy that can be used to do something. And pressure readings are taken twice a day, that is at 9 a.m. and at 3 p.m. This is because at this particular point of time or hour, the pressure levels are different. Pressure at 9 a.m. is going to be different from pressure at 3 p.m. And this will be influenced by other factors such as temperature, which will influence the amount of pressure on the Earth's surface. Another thing is that places with the same atmospheric pressure are shown on a map using an isobar. So an isobar is a line that joins places with the same atmospheric pressure. You will find an isobar line on the topographical maps where you can be able to detect them, and they will tell you that these are places of the same atmospheric pressure. Before I move on to the next slide, what instrument is used to measure atmospheric pressure? Give me the answer on 2518 and you might be the lucky person to get a present from us. So this is a mercury barometer, and in the mercury barometer you have the barometer that is used in measuring atmospheric pressure. And when we look at this image of ours, we have a basin and a tube, and we see that it has been filled with mercury. That is the gray part of the image. And when there is atmospheric pressure, the mercury inside this beaker gets pressure from the outside part of the beaker, and this will cause the mercury to rise in the mercury tube, that is in the glass tube. And if the mercury rises in the glass tube, means that the pressure is high. So this is the instrument that is used to measure atmospheric pressure. Let's look at how it works. So how does the mercury barometer work? We have the air exerts pressure on the mercury in the beaker. That is, the air from outside the beaker is going to exert some amount of pressure on this mercury. And when it exerts some amount of pressure into the mercury will end up rising in the glass tube. Number 2, the height of mercury in the tube is proportional to the atmospheric pressure. So as the mercury in the glass tube is going to rise, this is going to be proportional to the amount of atmospheric pressure outside the tube. So you can say that they go hand in hand. And the readings are taken in mmHg. If you know the full names of this unit of measurement, again, SMS me on 22518. Above sea level, it is measured at 760 millimeters Hg, that is above the sea level, and you know that above the sea level, the amount of atmospheric pressure may not be that high. That depends with again, the time that the pressure is going to be measured. So moving on to the advantages of a mercury barometer. And when we looked at that image, you saw that this mercury barometer is light and it gives accurate measurement. So one of the advantages is that it is light and it gives accurate measurement. Moving on to the disadvantage, we have one of the disadvantages that it is cumbersome to carry around. So if somebody wants to measure atmospheric pressure of different places, it is going to become heavy for you to carry this mercury barometer around, because mercury is heavy and this whole instrument is going to be heavy. So in the meantime, let you enjoy this video about the barometers, and from it you will learn and you will see the different types of barometers that are used to measure humidity.
Fortin's barometer. It is an improved form of barometer constructed and used in the laboratory. It consists of a cistern of mercury. The mercury level can be adjusted by means of a screw S provided underneath. A brass tip is fixed above the mercury level, which coincides with the zero of the scale of the barometer. A narrow glass tube filled with mercury is inverted and inserted in the mercury in the cistern. Adjusting the screw S, the mercury level can be made to coincide with the tip T. The reading of the mercury level M in the tube gives the atmospheric pressure. A vernier is also provided for accurate measurement of the reading. We can measure the atmospheric pressure accurately with Fortin's barometer, but it cannot be shifted casually from place to place. So, it is used as a standard barometer.
Welcome back. That was the video that shows the different types of barometers that measures atmospheric pressure. I am sorry I said that it measures humidity before the video, but it measures atmospheric pressure. Let's move on to humidity. And what is humidity? So humidity is the amount of air in the atmosphere. This is the amount of moisture content in the atmosphere, and it is measured and recorded by a hygrometer. So for the purpose of this hygrometer, it can be placed just anywhere on the earth's surface, but mostly it cannot be placed in house buildings, because if you want to measure the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, you just have to place the instrument outside the building. So when the hygrometer is low, the reading on the wet bulb will be low. So low readings on the hygrometer means that there is no much moisture in the atmosphere, and this will in turn lead to the wet bulb being low. When the humidity again is high, the reading on the dry bulb will be high. High humidity means that there is a lot of water moisture in the atmosphere, and this moisture in the atmosphere is going to be recorded, and as a result it means that the dry bulb is going to be high. It is going to record a high amount of moisture content in the atmosphere. To continue with the hygrometer, is that when there is no difference between the readings on the wet bulb and the dry bulb, that is, if you go to the hygrometer and check the measurements of the wet bulb and the dry bulb, and you find that there is no difference, it means that the air was saturated. It didn't have much moisture, it didn't have less moisture. So there was saturation of air, of moisture content in the atmosphere. How a hygrometer works: when air is dry, there is a lot of evaporation from the muslin. So when the air lacks any moisture, there's going to be evaporation from the muslin. And the muslin is the paper that covers the hygrometer. And when the evaporation will cool the bulb of the thermometer, and this will result into low temperature reading. So when there is dry air, there's going to be evaporation from the muslin bag, and from the muslin bag, as this water content is going to evaporate, it is going to cool the temperatures of the bulb. So what happens if there is cooling of the thermometer? If the thermometer is cool, that means that the temperatures will continuously drop. So if the temperatures of the bulb thermometer are going to be low, there's going to be a low recording. Again, when we have the high humidity, there will be little evaporation from the muslin bag. So high humidity means that there is moisture content in the atmosphere. This moisture content in the atmosphere, it will give no room for evaporation to take place in the muslin bag. And as a result of this being high humidity, we see that it is going to make the temperatures to rise. It's going to be the opposite of what I've just said earlier, where we have evaporation from the muslin bag, making the temperatures to be lower. So when the humidity is high in the atmosphere, so when we have the humidity being high in the atmosphere, the wet bulb thermometer is going to be cooled at a slower rate. And these both thermometers, that they will show that they have the same temperature reading. So this is how the hygrometer works. It's just a simple way. You can as well visit a meteorological site around your place, or in Dagoretti, where you have the headquarters of meteorological sites. Moving on to the interpretations of a hygrometer. So we have looked at how the hygrometer works. Now we are looking at the interpretations. So we have when the readings are the same, when we have the two readings, that is from the wet bulb and the dry bulb, when these readings are the same, then relative humidity is 100%. And this means that the air is saturated. If the difference is small, this means that the humidity is high. So a small difference means there is high humidity. What if the difference is small, means that the humidity is high. If the difference is big, that means that the humidity is very, very low. And low humidity means that there is little moisture in the atmosphere. High humidity means that there is high moisture content in the atmosphere. So for today, we have come to the end of the lesson. Today, I'm not doing the norm of giving you questions. So I welcome any questions and feedback. That's on our Twitter handle at ElimuTV and at Elimu_KE. On Facebook, that is ElimuTV, and SMS us on 2518. Thank you.